Welcome back to Drawdown in Afghanistan's highlighting the challenges of security assistance the U.S. provides around the world. One proposal is to consolidate those programs the Defense Department shares with state into a single program at Foggy Bottom. That plan, though, would be a quote, big mistake, according to Brent Sadler, Senior Fellow for Naval Warfare and Advanced Technology at the Heritage Foundation. He's writing about security cooperation and assistance programs with co-author Janae Diaz in Breaking Defense. Brent, welcome. Thanks for coming on the program. You write in this piece that America spends billions each year on security cooperation and assistance programs. Your sense is that we're not getting results to match the investment. Why so?
Well, so some of these programs have come and gone too quickly. They've been managed with milestones or markers of success after they've been implemented, so they tend to diverge from their initial intention or plan. That's not to say that we haven't had successes in the past. One program in particular that I'd like to draw attention to is the Maritime Security Initiative, which was narrowly focused. It was also focused on a small group of countries, but it had a very clear objective, which was improve maritime domain awareness in a very tight geographic region, the South China Sea. So if you have certain kind of characteristics, certain requirements, it's very likely and it's very possible that you can get an interagency, a large groups of people working together on a unity of effort, because these programs are very complex. They have lots of myriad authorities. And then, of course, you have Congress that also has lots of authorities that they place on top, and monitoring and oversight that they have.
You write in this piece, state consults with defense on its security assistance designs. Defense then implements state programs as well as its own security cooperation programs, such as multinational military exercises and military training and advising. Does that model work well now broadly, and where does it potentially go off track in the execution the way you described it?
Well, I think it all comes down to people. The personalities involved. And so when you have groups of people working across the interagency at USAID, State, Department of Defense, and even the different services like Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, it's really important that you have the personalities in place that actually are willing to work and collaborate together. The processes that are in place do allow that, but again, it comes down to personalities. And I do think that if you have an overarching strategy and you have guidance from the top, it makes it more likely to empower that kind of collaboration and camaraderie across agencies that otherwise it's really a challenge to do, because there's just so much complication in the funding lines.
You write, reforms to security assistance should encourage or compel state to design its programs in closer coordination with the Pentagon. Where should that coordination be focused in your view?
Well, I think it depends on the program in question. So if it has to do with institution building, then that's probably not DoD. It might be in the Department of Justice. But if it is something like we're talking about maritime domain awareness, that's very likely going to be Navy, and that's very likely to be Space Force in the near future. It really needs to be what is the strategic objective, and it needs to be narrowly defined. And then it should be that agency that's best placed with the expertise and the personnel that can be sent downrange to the targeted country to help in the most effective means.
I mentioned at the beginning of our conversation, Brent, that one of the proposals on the table is to move this all to state. Why is that not a great idea in your view?
Well, I think any time that you would put, without a lot of conditions and emphasis on the personalities to work together in an interagency approach that's A, sustainable, and B, most importantly, delivering results, you may have distraction. You may diverge from what the objectives are for the military security assistance, and that's really the focus of the piece that Janae and I wrote. Is that was missing, and so working with Department of Defense on identifying very specific military operational needs, such as access, interoperability, could also be having a country with a specific capability like cutters or maritime police or Coast Guard cutters. That has to be foremost in any of the planning, and it may not necessarily be resident in the thinking at State Department unless you have DoD military planners involved in that process, deeply involved in the process throughout.
Brent, thanks very much for coming on to talk about this. Excuse me, regards to your co-author Janae, and thanks for your time today.
Well, thank you very much for having me on, and aloha from Hawaii.